Hello YouTube, welcome to Rob's Artcade. I'm your host Rob, and I've got an awesome episode in store for all of my Player 2s. First, we're going to do an art class where we draw characters from one of my favorite classic animated series. Second, we're going to take a trip to the Classic Game Showcase where we spend some time playing a game based on characters from this classic animated series. Now I'm sure you're all wondering, what is this classic animated series he keeps talking about? Why don't we take a look at what we're going to be drawing and find out? That's right, Player 2s. The topic of this episode is the Flintstones. Now, I'm sure some of you only know of the Flintstones from vitamins or delicious breakfast cereal, but did you know that the Flintstones were actually the first ever primetime animated series? They've been around for quite some time. In fact, even little Rob used to watch them all the time. I used to always wonder what it would be like to be a part of their universe. I wonder what that would look like. I think if I lived in the Stone Ages, I'd be a police officer. Since tasers haven't been invented yet, and cops in Madrock don't carry firearms, I'd have my own special way to deal with criminals. Of course, I'd rather be drawing with my Player 2s. At least this way I don't have to worry about being eaten by a dinosaur. Now let's draw the Flintstones. Okay, Player 2s, I can't wait to get started on this one. We're going to be drawing one of my favorite all-time cartoon characters, Fred Flintstone. Now, it's going to be the same as we usually do. I'm going to start drawing in red on this white dry erase board. Anytime I draw in red, I want you to press very lightly with your pencils. I mean it very lightly, because eventually we're going to go in and we're going to erase all these pencil lines. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start drawing the top of his head. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle. Now, since his head is turned in a 3/4 view, we're going to draw a curved line right through here so we can split the head so we know which side to put the eyeballs on, etc. When we're done with that, we're going to draw a rectangle going right through the bottom of our image. So right now, we have the basic shape of the head. This is the guideline step. If it looks a little weird, that's okay. We're going to start building on this and eventually go in and erase all these lines. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw an oval. So we should have something similar to this. Now if you look, the image is already starting to take shape because you can tell that this is the top of the head, the bottom of the head, this is the body shape. When we're done with this, we're going to draw two rectangles for his legs, followed by two more additional rectangles for his feet. Head, body, feet. After that, starting right about here, I'm going to draw a little line so you have an idea where to put it. We're going to draw an oval. The oval should stop just a little bit above where this original oval that we did right here is, so we can draw another oval right here to show where the hand is going to go. So again, this is guideline steps. So right now we have top of the head, bottom of the head, body, legs, feet, other arm. We're going to do a couple more things in this guideline step before we move on to the next step and start adding more detail and really building up on our image. So what we're going to do, starting right about here, all right, you don't have to draw the X, I'm just drawing the X just to indicate what we're going to do. We're going to draw an oval that kind of has a point. So something like that. I'm going to color it in just so it's easier to see. On the top of that, we're going to draw a little line, and then we're going to draw another curve, bringing it to right there. Okay, I colored this in just so you can see better. If you do shade this in just for your own benefit, don't press too hard with the pencil. Because what happens sometimes is that a lot of people, when they draw, they put their hand on the paper. And if you have the pencil there, you can smear your pencil all over the place. So now that we have those two shapes combined, what we're going to do is we're going to draw a curve right here, and kind of like 3 points, maybe like a letter M inside of there. So 1, 2, 3. And again, I'm just going to shade that in a little bit just so you have an idea what it is. So by combining those few shapes, we just made the shape for his hair. So as of right now, we have just the guideline for the hair. And again, I did that in the guideline step, just so in case somewhere down the line, if you made a mistake in the picture and you notice that doesn't look right, we can go back and fix it because of the fact that we already know what this may look like in our finished drawing. So now we're going to move on to the next step. This is probably the most fun part of any sort of drawing because this is where you're actually building your image. We already have our guideline step. We already have our basic shape. So I'm going to go in blue. When I draw in blue, I want you to press a little harder with your pencil, but not too hard. Basically just hard enough so you know the difference between the lines that you did in the first step, the guideline step, as opposed to the next step. First thing that we're going to do, we're going to start right about here, and we're going to draw a big, kind of like a backwards letter C, shape for his nose. Okay, again, we have where our guideline is, so we're going to eventually go up and we're going to draw the eyes inside that shape that we did right there. The next step, so we're going to continue from where we did the nose, and we're going to bring a little line up here, and we're going to bring it down and around to here. So we've got the nose, the shape, so it kind of looks a little bit like an S. This is for his little stubble area of his mouth. When we're done with that step, we're going to draw a little line out here, going outside of the original shape that we did for the bottom of his jaw. We did the bottom of the jaw just to show where the nose is. So we're going a little bit outside the line, and we're going to bring it straight down. Okay, we're going to leave that blank for a second because when we start building up on the body, we're going to add a few little changes in there. So right now we have the nose, we have the bottom of his face. Inside here, we're going to draw his mouth. So starting about right there, we're going to draw a diagonal line and then curve it up to here. Diagonal line, and then we're going to curve it up to here. At the top of this, we're going to do kind of like an upside down letter C. Then we're going to draw a straight line down about here. We're going to draw a straight line down around here. We're going to draw a little curve down around here. And a little short diagonal line right there. Okay, I know I went through that really fast, so I'm going to go through it again for all my player twos. Starting right about here, we do our little curve. We have our upside down letter C, our little line here, our little line here, do a little curve around there, and do our little, kind of like a number 7 down there for his mouth. Inside there, I'm going to do a little curve for his tongue, and then I'm just doing this to show you, when we eventually ink this over, this area will be all black, colored in on the inside of his mouth. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a cold, player twos. Alright, so now, nose, mouth, we already have all our guidelines. We're going to continue building on this image. So we're going to go up and we're going to do the eyes. Starting over here, you've got one oval. Over here, where the nose meets, another oval. 1, 2 ovals. We're going to go outside of this other eyeball that we did right here, and we're just going to draw a little curve for a little detail by Fred's eyes. Inside the ovals that we did for the eyes, we're going to draw 2 smaller ovals, which will be shaded in eventually. So there we have the eyeballs. Now see, if you notice, if your image looks like this, and again, if it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. That's what's great about doing this on YouTube. We can pause this video and go back and find out where we made the mistakes. For example, if the nose doesn't look great, you can pause it, go back and rewind it back to where the nose actually was drawn, and correct whatever stuff that you did. And that's why we do things in pencil at first too, so this way we can correct our lines as we go along. But from what I've seen from my player twos, you guys do a great job keeping up. So what we have now is we have the eyes, nose, mouth. We're going to draw 2 curved lines right there for the eyebrows. That's okay if they go inside of the hair because eventually it actually overlaps a little bit. I'm going to go over the basic shape that we did right here. And then I'm going to add 2 little lines right there for hair. Outside of the original oval or the original circle that we did for the top of his head, I'm going to draw a slightly curved line just connecting this little area right there. So I just went over the hair and drew this little slightly curved line right there. Right about here, we're going to draw kind of looks like a less than sign. So just a little triangle type shape that's not a closed triangle for his ear. And then we're just going to go down and we're going to finish his head like that. So pretty easy, right? Now we have Fred's head drawn. Now we're going to do the rest of the body in a few simple steps, and very soon we're going to have a completed image of Fred Flintstone. The next step that we're going to do is starting right about here, we're going to draw kind of like a shape like this. It's like kind of like a hexagon, like the Superman shape, or a pentagon, I'm sorry. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, but they're all a little curved. Okay, this will be for the knot of his tie. And if this is it doesn't make a little bit of sense, don't draw anything yet until I go through the next step, and then we can piece everything together from there. Because what we have right now is we just did the knot in the center of here, and then we're going to draw a curve with a little line in there, and then we're going to do there. So that's going to be for part of his collar, and then we're going to draw a rectangle right about here. So we have his knot, we have part of his tie and the other part of his tie. We're actually going to draw the rest of the tie now, which is a curve, a bigger curve, and a smaller curve. So it's just a shape like that. Now, because of the fact that the Flintstones are in the Stone Ages and everything is old and everything is made of rocks and cut very jagged, our images and stuff aren't going to be exactly smooth. They're going to be weird angles. There's going to be weird curves. So if it doesn't look right to you, you actually may be right, because the fact that the style that the image is drawn is a very different style than everything else. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the arm. So we're going to draw a line, kind of like a letter Z here. So this is for Fred's sleeves are cut off his shirt. So this is for the jagged cut for where his sleeves are. We're going to follow this line down to here, going a little bit past. We're going to follow this line down to here. Okay, and this is probably the most difficult part of this image. And I'm going to simplify it so much that it's going to be very easy for everybody. We're going to draw the hand. So we have our original oval that we did here. We're going to draw a curve right here, like the letter C. We're going to draw a line, another line there, making kind of a rectangle shape. We're going to draw another little line here to show that the finger is bent. We're going to follow this and draw an additional line here for his hand. Then we're going to draw a rectangle here for his other finger, and we're going to bring it around here. Okay, so we have our curve, our rectangle shape, our other rectangle shape, our third rectangle shape, and then we're going to bring it up and around. So now we have the head, tie, arm, hand. Again, if I went too fast, pause it. Slow it down. I know I go very fast with this, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all my information out there so everybody can see everything. We're going to go around the outside now. And at the bottom of his outfit, we're going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. And then we're going to close up this little area right here. So right now we have his outfit. Follow our guideline. 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. Then we're going to draw 1 triangle here, 1 triangle here, 1 here, and 1 there. So eventually when we color this in, when we ink over our image, this is for the detail of Fred's outfit. The last step is the feet. Now we're going to try to keep these even on both sides. So we have our line that we did down the middle. We drew our 4 rectangles here. We're going to connect all those, but we're going to separate them with 1 line here. So we actually have 2 shapes for each leg. So we're going to follow this around to a curve, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3 curves, a little curve there, and follow our guideline. Okay, I know I went very fast on that. I'm going to show you exactly what I did, the same exact thing on the other foot. Started here, we're going to go over, we're going to go down around, we're going to draw 1, 2, 3 curves, and a little curve right there for both of his feet. These lines will get erased when we get rid of the guidelines. And inside there, we're going to draw 2 lines here and 2 lines there for the ankles. So as of right now, we have step 2 complete. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our black felt tip pen or black magic marker, and we're going to ink over only the lines that we did in the second step, only the lines that I have in blue. All these extra guidelines, we're going to erase when our ink is dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top. Again, before we get to this step, take a look at your drawing. Make sure that there's no steps that you missed, because if you ink this over and you missed a step, you might be inking over a blank space, and it's not going to look right. So just double check your image, make sure that everything looks very similar to what I have here. And if it doesn't look exactly like this, that's okay. We're all learning here. It's not going to look perfect. But as I said 1,000 times, my player 2s are doing fantastic with these drawings. So I'm going to start, whoops, got a little carried away there, with the hair. Starting at the top, I'm going to work my way down. The hair, then I've got the 2 little detail lines for his hair. I'm going to shade this in very, very quickly. Go over the outside of his face, his nose. Follow 1 continuous line for his little stubble area. Eyebrows, eyes. There's a little detail there, the little detail for his ear. The rest of his jaw shape. His mouth, and a little 7 shape right there. Color this in. His tie, his whole tie, and his sleeves. Okay, here's a little bit of personal information about me, player 2s. Fred Flintstone is actually the first thing I ever learned how to draw. I have photos of me sitting on my father's lap when I was about 3 years old. My father used to draw a little bit too, and he taught me some stuff. He taught me how to draw Fred Flintstone. And this one picture that I have from when I was very, very small, I'm sitting on my father's lap, and there's a picture. You could tell that he drew one image of Fred Flintstone, and I drew the second one. Again, mine wasn't perfect like my father's was, but it still looked pretty good. So that kind of got me drawing and practicing and practicing and practicing, because I knew that, wow, if this looks this good here and it's not perfect, I can just sit there and practice and learn how to do this the right way. So the more I practiced, the more I practiced, the more I practiced, the more I got to the point where I could actually draw things like this. So again, that's how I always say, keep drawing. Practice, practice, practice. So as of right now, I'm going over the feet, right over his ankles, over the other foot, right over the toes, and there you go. I'm going to look over all my lines, make sure that I did all the blue lines, everything that I was supposed to ink. Take a look, make sure I didn't ink over any red lines, which is something that you have to be careful of as you're going along. Again, that's why we draw very lightly with our pencils in that stage, because it'll be so easy to erase them later. Plus, if we draw very lightly, the lines look different than the lines we did in step 2, so we know not to ink over those. But as of right now, all my player 2 should have an image that looks like this or very similar to this, and we just drew Fred Flintstone. On this episode of the Classic Game Showcase, we're going to check out the Flintstones for the Sega Genesis. Released in 1993 by Taito, this game was based on the classic animated series featuring everyone's favorite modern Stone Age family. In this 2D action platformer, the player controls Fred Flintstone, who must complete 7 tasks spread out through 24 levels. Up until the final level, these tasks pretty much consist of helping other Flintstone characters find missing items such as Wilma's necklace or Barney's lucky fishing hook. I'm not going to spoil it here, but the plot of this game takes an odd turn on the final level that pretty much comes from out of nowhere, but it doesn't affect the overall fun factor of this game. The Flintstones is pretty much a traditional platformer in which the player guides Fred, who is armed only with a club to attack enemies, through a series of obstacles and enemies before he reaches a boss battle at the end of each stage. But where this game really shines is in the variety of the levels. One minute you're jumping over chasms created by a hungry shark, and the next minute you're holding your breath as you're swimming underwater, dodging spikes, and battling fish. Another level has Fred driving his car through an obstacle-filled desert, and on occasion, Fred hops on the back of a prehistoric bird creature and glides his way through the level. This game is always presenting the player with different play elements and level designs, and while it's a little on the short side, it's a fun ride while it lasts. Taito also released a Flintstones game for the Super Nintendo in 1994 entitled The Flintstones: The Treasure of Sierra Madrock. While graphically similar to its Genesis counterpart, The Treasure of Sierra Madrock is a different game entirely. In that same year, The Flintstones: The Surprise at Dinosaur Peak was released for the Nintendo Entertainment System. This game is also very similar to its Genesis and Super Nintendo counterparts, and it holds the distinction of being one of the rarest NES games due to the number of copies produced and its late release in the console's lifespan. Unfortunately, none of these games have been ported to any modern systems, so the only way to play them is in their original format. To sum everything up, The Flintstones for the Genesis is a short but fun game which doesn't get stale due to the variety of gameplay elements or level designs. This game is a must-play for fans of the source material, and I highly recommend checking it out if you get the opportunity. Till next time. And that's a wrap on another edition of Rob's Arcade. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to help this channel grow. Also be sure to follow Rob's Arcade at the social media links listed in the description below. Be sure to tune into the next episode too for the first ever Rob's Arcade contest. All of my player 2s are going to love this, and I'll have more information on the next episode. Until then, keep drawing, and I'll see you next time at Rob's Arcade.